driver training. Inspection.
All right.
Don't put me on no camera, dog.
You rolling?
Better blur my face out too, dog.
Stay out the way. That's how you gotta do it. All right. This is the Sampson Community College Truck Driver Training School. We'll run through the pre-trip. My name is Stephen Locklear, coordinator of the program, and this is how we want the pre-trips done here at the school. All right. So first thing, you always want the keys in your hand. You're gonna put them in your pocket. All right. You're gonna look at the front of the vehicle. I'm doing it my way. Now, the way y'all do it is on y'all, but this is the way I do it here. All right. So I start at the top and work my way down, looking at the front of the vehicle. I'm gonna check for my 3 L's. I got my lights, my leaks, and my leans. That's what I'm checking now. All right. So I got my clearance and ID lights at the top, clearance on the outside, ID lights in the middle. All defects for all lights are the same, just the names of the lights are different. All right. So they're not cracked, broken, missing. They're clean and they are amber in color. All right. Next, I'm gonna move down to my windshield. Check to make sure it's not cracked, broken, or chipped, and it's also clean. You can call the hood mirrors out if you want to, but they're not necessary. So I'm gonna skip it. All right. Now I'm gonna go to my lights here. These are my high beam, low beam, four-way hazards, and turn signals. All right. You got to mention all that to get credit. High beam, low beam, four-way hazard, whichever one you say, hazard or four ways. I say four ways, and turn signal. All right. Turn signal four ways are amber in color, not cracked, broken, or missing. My headlights, not cracked, broken, or missing, and they are clear or transparent in color, whichever one you want to say. Okay. Next, I'm gonna check my leaks. I'm looking under the vehicle for any fuel, any coolant, any oil drops, anything like that. Looks good. And I'm gonna check for my leans, making sure the suspension's not messed up, make sure it's not leaning left or right, indicating suspension or tire problems. Once that's good, now we open the hood. Always start on the left side and work your way around to the right. All right? So I'll come around. Remember the WACOP? Remember the acronym I gave y'all? All right, so I always start at the top, work my way down, and go left to right. So at the very top, I don't really see nothing. So I'm gonna start here with my coolant. All right? Coolant, make sure it's properly mounted. The reservoir is not cracked or broken. It's not leaking. The cap is on tight and it's at the proper level, and I will make sure there's no oil in my coolant. All right. Hoses, make sure they're not cut, torn, or frayed, and not leaking. Next, I'm gonna find my alternator. Here it is right here. I can tell by the fins right here in the front. All right, this little rotor got the fins on it. Alternator, it's belt driven. My belt, it's not cut or torn or frayed, and the tightness is no less than a 1/2 inch to 3/4 plate. Alternator itself is properly mounted. It's not cracked or broken because it's metal. No exposed wire because it's electrical. Okay? Next, I'm gonna do my water pump. You can always find the water pump by pointing to the middle of the engine at the bottom. It's always behind the radiator fan. All right, so right here. Here's the pulley for it, the main pulley. Water pump. It's properly mounted. It's not cracked or broken because it's metal. It pumps water, so I don't want it leaking, and it's belt driven. No less than 1/2 inch to 3/4 play on the belt, and the belt is not cut or torn or frayed. All right, that's all I see on this side. So we'll walk around to the other side. All right, again, start at my top, work my way down. So I did my water pump and then my alternator out of my WACOP. All right, so I'm looking for my second A now, my air compressor. Here it is right here. You can find it by looking for the silver hose, right? Silver hose, follow it, and it'll bring you right to the air compressor. Remember, the air compressor's always got a flat top. It's like an old school Harley engine to me. That's what it reminds me of. All right, so here's my air compressor. It's properly mounted. It's not cracked or broken because it's metal. It's pumping air, so I don't want it leaking any air or oil. Check my hose, make sure it's not cut or torn or frayed, and it's also not leaking. My air compressor is gear driven. There's no pulley in front of it, no belt pulley. So that lets me know it's gear driven. All right. Did my coolant, so now I'm gonna do my oil. Oil's next, right here. Check it, pull this out, wipe it off, put it in, pull it back out, make sure it's between add and full. All right, make sure the cap is on tight and there's no oil in my water and it's not leaking, okay? So water pump, alternator, air compressor, coolant, oil. Now I need my power steering fluid, my way cop, okay? Power steering, same thing as the coolant. Cap is on tight, reservoir is not cracked or broken, it's not leaking, it's at the proper level. If it's not, I would add some here. The power steering hose, not cut, torn, or frayed, and it's also not leaking. All right, so that covers my way cop. What's left? The hoses, the extracurricular hoses, that's right. So now I'm gonna do all my miscellaneous hoses now. Here, just touch some things. Make sure it's not cut, torn, frayed, and it's not leaking. And no exposed wires for my wires. All right. Now I'm gonna do my suspension, my steering system next. Steering system will be next. I always start with the steering rod or steering shaft, whichever one's good. You can say whichever one. It's metal, so it's not cracked or broken, no illegal welds, and no shiny metal in the U-joint. That's the big thing. It's got a U-joint, no shiny metal. Steering gearbox is next. It's properly mounted, not cracked or broken, no missing bolts, and it's not leaking because it's got power steering fluid running into it. Okay? Now you got your pitman arm and drag link. These are the only two parts you can call together. All right, it's the only two you can call together. Pitman arm, drag link, properly mounted, not cracked or broken. Key parts here, castle nut and cotter key are in place. Castle nut here, cotter key on the inside. All tight, none missing. Call it here again at the other end of it, the tie rod. Castle nut, cotter key in place. All right, here and here. All right, that's it for the steering. Now I go to my suspension. I always start with the spring mount or the spring hanger. Right here, follow the leaf spring, it'll bring you to the mounts every time. Spring mounts, not cracked, bent, or broken, properly mounted, no loose or missing bolts. Leaf spring is next. Leaf springs properly mounted, not cracked, broken, stacked, and not shifted. I always do my hands like that, that's how I remember. Stacked and not shifted. U-bolts next, keeping the leaf spring stacked and not shifted. U-bolts are not cracked, broken, they're properly mounted. All my lug nuts are in place, all tight, none missing. All right, underneath the U-bolts. Then I got my shock absorber here. Shock absorber is properly mounted, no loose or missing bolts, not cracked or broken, not leaking any air or hydraulic fluid, whichever one it runs off of. Now I'll do my brakes. All right, see how everything flows together. I went here, here, here to my shock absorber. Now I'm going to my brake hose. Everything flows. Start my brake hose right here. Properly mounted, not cut or torn, and it's not leaking. Got my ABS line attached to it. You can't call them together. All right, ABS line on the outside. It's not cut or torn and no exposed wire. All right, because it's got electricity running through it. Hose brings me right to the brake chamber. Brake chamber is properly mounted. Band is tight. It's not cracked or broken, and it's not leaking because it's got air coming to it. Slack adjustment push rods always behind the brake chamber and the brake chamber. All right. Push rod first, you gotta separate them. Push rod's not cracked and it's not bent. Cotter key is in place, not missing. Slack adjuster itself is not cracked or broken. No more than an inch of play when the brakes are released. On the back side, you got your drum and lining. All right, here's your drum on the outermost part, right here. That is the drum. Brake drum, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, no deep grooves, free of oil and grease. The linings or the brake pads are just inside the drum. Just inside the drum. All right, not cracked, broken, not worn too thin, no less than a 1/4 inch of wear. 1/4 inch of wear, all right? Now I come to my tire. My TOP stands for tread, outer wall, and pressure. My tread is evenly worn, no less than 4/32 on my steers. No less, okay? Outer wall, no cuts, no holes, no bulges. Pressure is at least 100 pounds, and I would check it with a commercial air gauge. You have to say that to get credit, okay? Rim would be next. Rims not cracked, not broken, no illegal welds, and the bead is not bent. The outermost part, the bead. Lug nuts, all tight, none missing, no rust streaks indicating looseness. Hub oil seal. All right, hub oil seal is properly mounted, no loose or missing bolts. It's not cracked or broken, it's not leaking. And I would check it by taking this out, sticking my finger in there, make sure it's wet. All right, you don't actually have to do that on the test, but you gotta say it. All right. Valve stem, should Kevin want it, properly mounted, not cracked or broken, not leaking. All right. That covers the front of the truck. Now we can work down the side. All right, I always start at the top, work my way down again. So I got my mirror bracket first. Mirror bracket and mirror, properly mounted. No loose or missing bolts, not cracked, broken. The mirror is not cracked or broken and not chipped. Door, open and closes properly. Open it back up, make sure my hinges are not cracked or broken. No bolts missing. Weather seal is intact. And while I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and check my fire extinguisher because it's right in front of my face. All right, it's properly mounted, pin is in place, properly charged. Okay, make sure the pin is in place. Shut the door, come down. Now I have, this is a marker light, but it's also a four-way flasher and a turn signal. All right, you have to say that to get credit. Marker light, turn signal, four-way. Not cracked, broken, missing, clean, amber in color. Steps would be next. Steps is properly mounted, not cracked, broken, free of debris, no missing bolts. Fuel tank next. All right, properly mounted, bands are tight, cap is on tight, it's not cracked, broken, it's not leaking. Emergency door, you don't have to open it, but tell me what you need. All right, we already did our fire extinguisher, so I need my 3 reflective triangles. I need a spare fuse for each size on the truck. All right, so if you got a 30 fuse and a 20 fuse, you need a spare in each one, spare of each one. All right. Now I'll come to the back of the truck. Got my catwalk area. Do my steps in my catwalk. Same thing as the steps. Not cracked, broken, no missing bolts, free of debris. Got my drive shaft next, is running down the middle of the truck. All right, running down the middle. It's not cracked, broken, no missing bolts, no shiny metal in the U-joints. It's got 2 big U-joints down there. Frame of the truck, right here. It's not cracked, not broken, no illegal welds, no missing bolts. All right. The only time you have illegal welds is on the frame and the rims. Any other time you say it, it's just extra. All right, but it's required on those 2 parts. All right, splash guard. Splash guard is properly mounted. It's not cracked, broken, no missing bolts. Doesn't touch the tire, doesn't touch the ground. Now do my connections. You gotta do it for the truck and the trailer. So do the truck first. Connections are properly mounted. Lines are not cut, torn, not frayed. No leaks. And my emergency electrical line, pigtail, plugged in properly. No prongs missing. No cuts, tears, no exposed wire. All right. Now on this side, same thing. Properly mounted. Grommets, not cut or torn. Lead hands properly mounted. Lines not cut, torn, not leaking. Electrical line, no prongs bent. Plugged in properly. Not cut, torn, no exposed wire. All right. Next, now I'm gonna do my suspension for my drives. Now when you get to the drives, you can choose to do this axle or that axle. You ain't gotta do both. All right, whichever one you can see better. I usually like starting here with the front one because everything's a little easier to see. Do my suspension first. Spring mount, spring hanger, right here. Right there it goes, all right? Proper mounted, not cracked, broken, no missing bolts. Got my leaf spring and my torsion bar, torque rod, all right? The torque rod is the one that wraps around this bar here. So this one's the inside. The inside is the torsion bar, and the top one is the leaf spring. All right, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, stacked, not shifted. U-bolts again, one over the top, not cracked, broken, properly mounted, lug nuts all tight, none missing at the bottom. Got my shock absorber right here at the top of the tire. Yep, you see it, yep. Not cracked, broken, no missing bolts, not leaking. Now we do my brakes. Oh, got my airbag as well. That's the one thing you got to add on to for the drives. You got your airbag here. Airbag not cut or torn, it's not leaking, full of air, right? Then you got your airbag mounts, holding it in place. They're not cracked or broken, no missing bolts. All right? Now, I'll do my brakes. I always start with the brake hose. Start with the brake hose, runs you down. Brake hose, not cut, torn, no leaks, no frays. I don't see an ABS line. So now I'm gonna move to the brake chamber. All right, brake chamber is properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, band is tight, not leaking. Slack adjuster and push rods, always behind the brake chamber. So here's the guard for it, it's right behind this guard. All right, push rod, it's not cracked, it's not bent. Cotter keys in place. Slack adjusters, not cracked, not bent, no more than an inch of play when the brakes are released. Got it? Then you got your drum and lining again on the back side of the tire. Drum, it's not cracked, not broken, no deep grooves, free of oil and grease. Brake pads or brake linings, call them brake linings for Kevin, all right? Brake linings, not cracked, not broken, not worn too thin, and at least a 1/4 inch of wear on there, all right? Has at least a 1/4 inch thickness. Now I'm gonna do my tires again, do my bud spacing now. Got my bud spacing, the space between the tires. Like I say, is free of debris and the rims are touching. Rims are touching, free of debris, rims are touching. TOP again, tread evenly worn, no less than 2 30-seconds now. On the drives, outer wall again, no cuts, no holes, no bulges. Pressure is at least 100 pounds, check it with a commercial air gauge. Rim, not cracked, not broken, no illegal welds, bead is not bent. Lug nuts, all tight, none missing, no rust streaks indicating looseness. Now we have an axle seal. Hub oil seal on the front, axle seal here. Notice the difference. It's just a big steel plate. You can't check it, but it can still leak. So my defects, properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, no missing bolts, and it's not leaking. If it was leaking, you could see puddles collect right here at the bottom of the rim. All right. Coupling system now. So that knocks out my brakes, my suspension, my tires. Now I can work on my coupling system. I always start at the top, work your way down. At the very top is my, what's this called? Apron plate. Very good. Apron plate is flat, it's not cracked, not bent. Okay? Next is gonna be the gap. You wanna make sure there's no gap between the apron plate and the fifth wheel plate. That's a part on its own, is mentioned in the gap. As long as there's no gap, we're good. All right? Next would be the fifth wheel plate itself. All right, it's properly mounted, it's not cracked or broken, and it's properly greased. Keep working down, fifth wheel release arm next, okay? Properly mounted, there's a cotter key holding it in place. So cotter key is not missing, not cracked, broken, in the locked position. It's in the locked position, okay? Next is gonna be your platform. Right here, it's just up under the fifth wheel. Pivot pin in the middle, platform at the bottom. Platform is not cracked, not broken, properly mounted. Allows the fifth wheel to pivot. Allows the fifth wheel to pivot. Next, you got your fifth wheel slide. Right here, the slide's not cracked, not broken, not damaged. Mounting bolts, all right? Mountain bolts. I always thought of Mountain Dew, all right? Knockoff brand Mountain Dew, mountain bolt, all right? Mountain bolts. Not cracked, not broken, all tight, none missing, okay? Then you have your fifth wheel locking pins right here in these little holes. They're properly mounted, they're not cracked, they're not broken, and they're in the lock position, just like the fifth wheel release arm, okay? After that, now you go to the back. Don't miss nothing. Go up into here. Now I'm looking at my locking jaws and kingpin. Locking jaws, properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, locked around the shank of the kingpin. You've got to say that, shank. All right, if you don't say shank, you can't get credit. Next would be the kingpin itself. Properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, and it also needs to be properly greased so you can turn. All right, got the back of my trailer truck here. These are brake lights, tail lights, full-way turn signals. That's it. All right, brake light, tail light, full-way turn signal. 4 lights. Brake light, tail light, full-way turn signal. And your reverse light. All right, but you ain't got it on the trailer. Brake light, tail light, full-way turn signal. And reverse light, not cracked, not broken, clean, not missing, red in color and white in color. All right, now you got your mud flap next. Mud flap's not cut, not torn, no missing bolts, not touching the tire, not touching the ground. It's got reflective tape, you gotta call that. Reflective tape's not cut, it's not torn, white and red in color. All right, that's it for my hand. All right, so now I've knocked out my whole truck now. Now I just gotta worry about my trailer. All right. So here, we got outage in 2 spots. You gotta call the outages here. All right. Got my outage here between my trailer and my tractor. All outage is enough space to turn without making contact. I can turn to the left or to the right without my tractor hitting my trailer. All right. Got outage here. Then I have outage here. Between the drive tires and the landing gear. All right? Make sure you have enough space to turn without making contact with the landing gear. That's how you say it. All right, header board. Header board, front of the trailer. It's not cracked, no bulges, no holes.
Here are some results
Right.
from a search.
That's crazy. Then I got my clearance and ID lights at the top. I just got clearance lights at the top, not ID lights. My ID lights is 3 grouped in together in the middle. We just got 2 on the outside, which makes them clearance lights. All right, they're not cracked, they're not broken, missing, clean, amber in color. Side of my trailer, same thing. No cuts, no holes, no bulges. All right, my reflector tape, it's not cut, it's not torn. It's white and red in color, and it covers at least 50% of the side of the trailer. Gotta mention that. All right, 50% on the side, 100 on the back. 50 on the side, 100 on the back. Okay? Next, I got my trailer frame. Got my trailer frame. All right? Up on here, you got all these things right here called ribs. All right? Make sure the ribs are not cracked, they're not broken, they're damaged, they're all tight and they're missing. All right? Landing gear would be next. Landing gear is properly mounted. It's not cracked, not damaged, no missing bolts. Sand shoes in place. That's the only thing you can call it. Can't call it nothing else. Sand shoe in place. Crank handle is stowed or put away. Stowed or put away. All right. Next, we have this light here. This is intermediate marker light. Intermediate marker light. You gotta call it that. All right. It's also a turn signal and a 4-way flasher. Intermediate means in the middle. It's in the middle of the trailer. So you need to think of that. In the middle of the trailer, intermediate. Intermediate marker light. It's also a turn signal in the 4-way. It's not cracked, broken, missing, amber in color. Move on now. To the outside, now we got my trailer tandems. Again, you could do either axle. I choose the first one because it's easier to see. All right, start with my tandem slide right here. Tandem slide right here. Tandem slide itself is not cracked, it's not damaged, not broken, properly mounted. Tandem release arm right here. Same defects as the 5th wheel release arm. Not cracked, not broken. Cotter key in place in the lock position. It's in the lock position. Tandem locking pins. Right there. Tandem locking pin. Properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, in the lock position. Alright. After that, now you can pick up on the suspension. This is an air ride trailer. I have no springs. All right. So you gotta know what you're looking at. It's two different sets of trailers. That over there is a spring trailer. This is an air ride trailer. Know the difference. All right. Since this is an air ride, this is no longer a spring mount. This is just a mount. All right. It's just a mount. The mount's properly mounted. It's not cracked, broken, no missing bolts. All right, this here's the torque arm, right here. All right, the one going sideways, the horizontal. It's in place of the springs, okay? Torque arm, it's not cracked, not broken, properly mounted, not damaged, no missing bolts. You got your shock absorber, right here. Properly mounted, not cracked or broken, no missing bolts, not leaking. Then you got your airbags behind you. All right, airbags properly mounted, not cut, torn, no leaks. Airbag mounts, hold it in place, not cracked or broken because they're metal, properly mounted, no missing bolts. Yeah. All right, so that's your suspension. Air rides are real easy, real easy. Next, let's do the brakes. Again, start with your brake hose. Always start with brake hose, follow it. Brake hose is not cut, not torn, not leaking. See, there's an ABS line right there. ABS line, it's not cut, not torn, no exposed wires.
Is that red line?
No, it's these real thin black hoses, black lines here. They're always attached to the brake hose. Always attached to the brake hose. All right, now I got my brake chamber itself. All right, follow the hose to the chamber, properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, band is tight, no leaks. Slack adjuster and push rod, always behind the brake chamber, on each side. Push rod, it's not cracked, not bent, not broken. Cotter keys in place, slack adjuster, properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, no more than an inch of play when the brakes are released. Got my drum and lining. See this real good? Drum on the outer part. Drum on the outer part. It's not cracked, not broken, no deep grooves, free of oil and grease. Lining on the pad just on the inside. It's not cracked, not broken, not worn too thin, no less than 1/4 inch of thickness. All right, right there. Drum outside, lining inside.
Y'all don't say illegal welds?
No, you don't need to.
Okay.
You can, but it's not a defect we're really looking for.
Okay.
All right, so that's the drum and the line. So now we come to our tires again, do our bud spacing. Bud spacing, no debris, free debris, rims are touching. TOP, tread, evenly worn, no less than 2/32. Outer wall, no cuts, no holes, no bulges. Pressure, 100 pounds, check it with a commercial air gauge. All right. Rim, properly mounted, not cracked, not broken, no illegal welds. That's when you need to say it.
Okay.
For your rims and your drive shaft. And your frame, I mean. No illegal welds, bead is not bent. Bead is not bent. Lug nuts, all tight, none missing, no rust streaks indicating looseness. What kind of seal is this?
Action.
No.
That's a hub seal.
Hub oil seal. Hub oil seal.
You gotta say hub oil seal or you
Yeah.
can say hub seal.
Hub oil seal is what it's called. Hub oil seal is properly mounted, no loose or missing bolts, not cracked, not broken, not leaking. Check by pull this out, stick my finger in, make sure it's lubricated. Valve stem, not cracked, not broken, no leaks. All right. Let's get this axle. Got a mud flap. All right, it's not cut, it's not torn because it's rubber, not touching the tire, not touching the ground, no missing bolts. Door tie. Door tie, properly mounted, not cracked or broken, holds the door open properly. Holds the door open properly. This is just the ABS light, there's nothing else.
You don't say bolts secure on that?
No missing bolts.
I'm just asking.
You can. All right, ABS light. It's just an ABS light. It has no other function. It'll let you know the ABS is working. All right, defect still the same. It's not cracked, broken, missing, clean, amber in color. This is just a marker light. That's its only function. Think of it as marking the end of your trailer. That's how I remembered it. It marks the end of your trailer. All right, no loose and missing bolts. It's not cracked, broken, missing, red in color. Coming to the back. Coming to the back, I always start at the top, work my way down. I have my ID lights, they're not at the top, they're at the bottom this time. Now I do my door hinges. My door hinges, just like on the door up front. Not cracked, broken, no missing bolts. Open and close the door properly. Door latches. Door latches. Same thing. Properly mounted. Not cracked or broken, no missing bolts. Open and close the door properly. Door ties again. Got them on the side and on the back. Same defect. Not cracked, not broken, properly mounted. Holds the door open properly. ID lights. Three lights grouped together, always ID lights. These are ID lights. Properly mounted, not cracked, broken, missing, red in color. And green. Alright, just like the back of the truck. Just like the back of the truck. We got brake lights, tail lights, four-way hazards, turn signal. Brake light, tail light, four-way turn signal. Brake light, tail light, four-way turn signal. Alright, I'm gonna get that beat in your head. Not cracked, broken, and missing, clean, red in color. If they happen to ask you, brake lights inside, turn signals outside. If they want to know. They probably won't, but that's just a little information for you kids. And lastly, you got your DOT bumper. DOT bumper, the only thing you need to say about it is that the reflective tape covers 100%. 100 on the back, 50 on the side. 100% covered with reflective tape. Reflective tape's not cut, it's not torn, it's red and white in color. Alright? Come to the right side. I'll examine the right side the same way I did the left side, and I will call out anything you need. You don't need to worry about the spare tire holder. I don't see nothing exotic, nothing unique on this side, it's not on the other side. And I'm going to call out my exhaust, the last thing I got to get. Exhaust stack. Alright, it's properly mounted. Brackets are tight. No rust in the elbow. No carbon darts on the stack. Alright. Carbon dots indicates carbon monoxide leak. No carbon dots. Brackets tight. No rust in the elbow. Not cracked or broken. Alright. When you get to the hood, your instructor is going to ask you, driver, does this conclude the outside portion of your pre-trip? At that point, you can come back, you can go back and see if you missed something. All right, if you missed something, it's not the end of the world. If you missed something and you remember it, go back and call it out. But once you close the hood, you're just telling me that the outside portion is done. You got everything. All right, so leave the hood open so you know for sure you've got everything. Now, you can't stand here for 10, 15, 20 minutes thinking of something you missed. If you don't know it right away, we got to keep moving. All right, so there's 24 y'all that Kevin's got to test. All right. So, yes, I'm doing my outside portion, so I'm going to close my hood. All right. Now we check the lights. All right, we're doing a light check. So the instructor is going to stand outside, and y'all are going to get in the truck and check the lights. All right, call out all the lights you want to check. Left turn signal, right turn signal. Every time you call one out, as long as it works, we'll give you a thumbs up from the outside. All right. Get in. Turn it on, but don't start it. All right, gonna turn your headlights on. All right, Mr. Instructor, checking my headlights, my low beams. Oh, nobody's gonna check? Okay, I'm giving myself thumbs up. All right, high beams. Left turn signal. Right turn signal. Clearance and ID lights. Four-way flashes. All right, now, Mr. Instructor, I want to check my lights in the back. So now the instructor's going to walk to the back. Now y'all got to yell.
Alright, so quick question. I know the class B, you gotta have the door closed. You gotta have the door closed. Alright.
All right, left turn signal. Right turn signal.
Good.
Four ways.
Good.
Brake lights.
Good.
And then tail lights.
Good. But you have to turn your actual lights on, right?
Yeah. All right, once the light check is done, that's when we do the in-cab inspection. All right, so we stop the video and then start the new one.